The charity I work for is called Arthritis Action. We're based in London, but we're only there 2 days a week. So a lot of us work from home. So this is what I'm going to be covering today. So a little bit more about the charity, what the self-management of arthritis is, how we help, and then some information about our resources, and any contact details as well. Um,
Cool. Cool.
so we're quite a small charity. I think at the moment there's only about 12 people working for us, but we do our best to kind of share information about how to manage the pain and associated symptoms of arthritis with confidence. Our resources cover diet, exercise or physical activity, pain management and emotional well-being. And we just want to make sure that people have enough knowledge to help manage their condition. One thing I will say is that everyone experiences arthritis differently. So we all have different levels of pain, different thresholds, different places in our body where the pain affects us. So we really can't let that kind of stop us from getting kind of support or help, because even if two people on this call today have osteoarthritis in their hips, for example, how they experience that will be very different. So if you notice something that isn't quite right for you, the pain's in a new place, or it's got worse, or you're feeling like you've got less mobility, or your joints are very stiff, please don't stop you from getting any help and think, oh, but I'm not as bad as somebody else, or I'm not as bad as them. Everyone's journey with arthritis and pain is very different. So before I go into self-management, I thought I'd kind of say a little bit about what arthritis is. So it's essentially there's lots of different types of arthritis. I think there's about maybe 100 types, maybe more. So again, that's why it's really important not to compare your arthritis with somebody else. But the type that's the most common is osteoarthritis. People tend to get that in their hips, their knees, their shoulders. A good way of kind of looking at that is kind of bone on bone, like without any muscle or fluid surrounding the joint to support it. And that can cause a lot of pain. And one of the best ways to get that strength back, that muscle back, is to exercise and build up that muscle slowly. It won't happen overnight, but it's something that can help. But on the flip side to that, you have rheumatoid or inflammatory arthritis, and that is a response from your immune system, and it attacks the joints and it can cause a lot of pain. And that's why there's so many different types, because if you have psoriasis, for example, you might also have psoriatic arthritis. So arthritis can be a secondary kind of symptom of other autoimmune conditions. If you're concerned about what type of arthritis you have, and you do think it might be inflammatory, it's really important to push for a blood test with your GP, because rheumatoid arthritis needs a lot kind of a more kind of careful management and sometimes medication. Whereas osteoarthritis, unless you're kind of put forward for surgery, it's usually managed within primary care, like occupational therapy, physiotherapy. You might have osteopathy or acupuncture or things like that. So how the two are managed are very different. So if you are concerned, a good way of telling could be, for example, if you have osteoarthritis in your hip, it's unlikely that your hands are going to be hurting at the same time. So whereas inflammatory arthritis can kind of it can feel like it's all over the body as well. So please be aware of where you're getting pain, and don't be kind of afraid to push for blood tests for inflammation markers if you are concerned. But the self-management of arthritis can count for both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. So we split this into two with, as you can see on this diagram, we've got physical health and we've got mental well-being. So on the physical side of managing it, you have exercise or physical activity, not telling anyone to go off and run a marathon. It's about doing something that you can fit into your routine to help keep your muscles strong, and also not going in too fast, too quickly, kind of start at the level you're at. Going in and doing too much can actually be detrimental as well. And then you have healthy eating and weight management. So a long time ago, people were told that they had to cut out all of these different foods, and it's really confusing. That's not necessarily the case. It's more about looking at weight management and portion control to kind of help reduce the pressure that's on the joints, essentially. And then you have clinical support and also community support. So coming along to places like this are really helpful. But clinical support is any medical professional involved in helping you manage your arthritis. So GP, physio, whoever that might be, a rheumatologist, it depends. But all those people kind of join up together. Um, and then you have pain and fatigue management. So, exercise is a great way of managing the pain, but some people might take medication. Everyone's different. Some people might find that kind of doing relaxation or distraction techniques help take their mind off the pain. But it's really important to remember that with arthritis, it is a long-term condition. So, currently, it can't be cured, but it can be managed. So, all of these might not take the pain away entirely, but they can help kind of bring down the level of pain if done consistently. So on the other side, you've got mental well-being. So the link between physical and mental health, particularly with a long-term condition, they're intrinsically linked. So the main thing I say to people is nobody knows how you're feeling unless you tell them, particularly with pain. And it's really important to let people know how your arthritis impacts you because it can be different from one day to the next. If you're going through a flare-up and you're in more pain, it might be very difficult for you on that day, but it's really important to kind of to communicate that um, as well and start small, set targets with what you want to, whether a target say for exercise, say like I said, there's no point going in doing a 45-minute swim if you've never swum before. It's much better to do 5 minutes of something and start off slowly and build that up, and your body will thank you for it because it doesn't kind of think, oh gosh, what's going on here? And you're in lots of pain. So that's really important to start small and build up. I mentioned distraction techniques for relaxation and pain management. We've got some great resources about that. Positive thinking with pain, it can be hard to be positive, but I always say to people it's about being appreciative or being what your body can do now rather than say comparing it to something you could have done maybe 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago. Every day is different, and starting small again and building up can really help with that. So these are some tips. We do a lot of groups, presentations, speak to lots of people over the phone, and these are all kind of tips that people tend to say and have and things that work for them. So work at your own pace. This is particularly important for exercise, or if you're talking to others that have arthritis, you know your own body, so you kind of know the messages your body is sending you. If you're doing exercise and all of a sudden you feel some shooting pain or you're very uncomfortable or you're out of breath, it's much better to stop than to power on through that, and then you'll be feeling exhausted after that or uncomfortable. So everyone's different, and that's the most important thing to remember. And not everyone will respond to all of these self-management techniques. I was at a talk the other day, somebody loved yoga, that really worked for them. But another person, they found that walking their dog in the morning was the best form of exercise. So everyone's different, and sometimes it can feel like a bit of a trial and error process because something might work for a few weeks. You've then got to change it up, and it can feel really tricky. So that's something we are able to help with. We have got a phone line if you've got any questions, or you've been managing your arthritis for a while, but you're finding it hard to manage it now because symptoms have changed. We are able to kind of to listen to that and kind of give you some hints and tips as well. And the thing is, I keep saying this, but start small and build up slowly. This is particularly the case with exercise, but it could be anything really. It's kind of working out a balance, because if you're going for a flare up or things are uncomfortable, there is a level of kind of mental fatigue and exhaustion there. And it's always the case that if you do something, loads of things on the days you feel good, and then you feel exhausted for the rest of the week. So it's about kind of, if you can, finding a way to balance that. But asking for help is really important. We can't do everything on our own. It's really important to reach out, and that comes back to communication and letting people know how much pain you are in as well, and finding that balance of asking for help but maybe not being overwhelmed by that as well, because some people have the best of intentions, but it can feel like too much. So how do we help? So we provide information on diet and nutrition. So we look at healthy eating and portion sizes. We've got some great recipes that are healthy and easy to make that have also been created by somebody with arthritis. So they take the prep into consideration as well, particularly if you find preparing or chopping or cutting food quite difficult. But we've got podcasts, we've got videos about all of this, and our dietitian Martin has written some really great articles on our website. So physical activity, so exercise, movement, whatever you want to call it, it can be hard to build it into the routine. But once you do, it's people I talk to, they always say that once they've got past the initial hurdle of starting it, then there's so many benefits, both physically and mentally, to moving. Makes you feel good, gives you more energy. It keeps the muscles around your joints strong. But like I said, start small and build up slowly. If you're very new to exercise, it's often worth contacting your GP to make sure it's something that you're able to do. On our website, we've got some great kind of chair-based exercises as well that you can kind of build into your own routine. And the one thing with exercise, it's not an easy fix. It is something that does take consistency, but over time, people do say they noticed improved function and mobility. And we've recently done, I think, a podcast on kind of strength training essentially and arthritis, but that just means exercises to build muscle. We're not telling people to go and lift really heavy weights or anything like that. But again, I'll include some of that. And it just depends what you enjoy. That's, I always say, is the biggest thing, and what you're able to do in the time that you have as well. That's really important. So pain management. So everyone manages pain differently. You might take medication, you might be on a kind of regime from a rheumatologist, you might go to physiotherapy, you might go to, I don't know, an aerobics class. Who knows? Everyone's different. But one of the main things we say is when we experience pain, that's what we're focusing on. So it's really important, if you can, to find a way or distraction to take your mind off of the pain. And we do have some really great techniques and resources for that as well. It might not go away entirely, but you can kind of use those techniques to kind of manage the impact that the pain has on you. Again, any new pain, anything that feels different or more severe, please don't just suffer in silence with that. Please do go and speak to a GP, because just because arthritis can cause pain and stiffness, there's other conditions that can also do the same. So please be aware of that. Don't just kind of think, oh, I'll deal with it tomorrow. It is really important to seek help as much as you can. Some people find therapies helpful, so physiotherapy, acupuncture, massage. Physiotherapy is available in the NHS. They'll give you the exercises, but if you find them too difficult, it is important to let the therapist know so they can be adapted appropriately. The one thing at this time of year is a lot of people say that the weather that we experience in the winter makes arthritis feel more uncomfortable. But others say the extreme heat of summer does the same. So everyone's different, but using things like hot water bottles, heat, can be really beneficial for keeping the joints warm and comfortable, and avoiding any stiffness as well. And my final slide, please remember the impact that a long-term condition can have on your mental health. So we do have a mental health directory that kind of signposts to particularly to talking therapy support, and some talking therapy services do offer long-term condition support, so arthritis, things like that, diabetes, and seek help when you need it. And like I said, coming along to community-based groups are a fantastic avenue for support as well, and not suffering in silence. It's about letting people know your feelings. And then not going in too much too fast. So pacing again is really important as well. So seeking support, I can include this in my like list of helpful links to our directories as well. So we've got a lot of resources on our website. I will share the links because it can get quite tricky to navigate, but we have exercises, recipes, fact sheets, groups, directories. We've released podcasts. There's articles on there. We've got a newsletter that goes into your inbox. I think it's either monthly or fortnightly. We have information for younger adults because arthritis impacts people of all ages. So much on there. It really depends on how you learn and how you take in information. We can also do a little bit of printing of kind of our recipes and fact sheets and things like that as well. So if that is of interest, you've had a look at the website and think, oh, I'd love to kind of maybe have this in paper, or you don't have an internet connection, please just give us a call and we'll do our best to help. We do have a membership, but that's everything on our website is free. The membership is more for people that want a bit more kind of personalized support. So that's, I think, £25 a year. You get weight management consultations with our dietitian, priority booking on our events, online exercise classes, an opportunity to vote our AGM and a magazine. But yeah, but it really depends what you want. If you just want an overview, all of those resources on our website are completely free, and most people do manage fine with that. So I'm not here to plug membership. It's just an addition to what we offer. But these are our contact details.